supported self-reflective practice for student skill development and employability. Over to you, Heather.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Kimberly. Right, now this is the point that hopefully my screen will share. Okay, everybody can see that okay? All right, great. Okay, so I can't see the cameras now, so I'm speaking out there, but I'm Dr. Heather Cleland Woods, and I'm the Level 4 Programme Lead for our final year undergraduate programme at the School of Psychology and Neuroscience here at the University of Glasgow. And I've got the lovely Hannah with me, who's one of our Level 4 students. Do you want to say hi, Hannah?
Yes, hi. Happy to be here. Thanks.
Thanks so much for coming along. So what we're going to talk just a little bit about is I'm going to share some slides and then Hannah's just going to give the student perspective. But really what we are talking about today are the skill surgeries. So what are they? The skill surgeries are just short 30-minute sessions between myself as Level 4 Programme Lead and one of our Level 4 students. It's a one-to-one session and students can contact me directly through a wee Teams direct message to book a session, and I've held them in regular times. They were always between 10 and 11 a.m. on Thursdays and Fridays. So I had 4 half-hour slots every week. And really, there is no great agenda, there is no great structure. It's just about a relaxed, confidential, informal chat where we just talk about things that are perhaps on the student's mind, or they might not even realise that they've been thinking about something particular, but anything they want to bring to the table. We write some notes up on the whiteboard in my office, and the student can take a photograph if they want to take that away for future reference. So how did they come about? So every year I have students contact me about, oh my goodness, that's me in Level 4 now, what happens now? Because a lot of our students, not all, but a lot of our students have gone through the kind of traditional route of being at high school, being at secondary school, applying for university, and have arrived on their doorstep. Now, obviously there's been quite big changes with that over the last couple of years in terms of, not being in school and home learning and things like that, but still, it's been quite guided about next steps. And so really they get to the end of their university career and think, well, hang on, wait a minute, where's the UCAS application? What am I going to do now? And so what we wanted to do, or what I wanted to do, was really start to tackle this in quite a structured way that wasn't about necessarily just providing more information, but it was more of a reflective exercise. So the student was taking more ownership of it and actually being able to think through, well, hang on, what have I done over the past 4 years or 3 years? A key skill is for our graduates to be able to articulate their knowledge and skills to employers. So again, through my experience, I was very aware, or the team were very aware of what our students were able to do, but not necessarily we wanted to be able to support our students to be able to articulate what they were able to do. And this has also been recognised by our accrediting body, the British Psychological Society and the Higher Education Academy. So as I said, it's an informal chat with myself about their time at the university. So really, I would say to the student, come in, sit down, we just have a nice wee chat. And I would say, look, there's no set agenda here. This is just really about for an opportunity for you to either talk through something specific if it's on your mind. So it might be, I'm really nervous about a gap in my CV. How do I overcome that? Or it might be, I don't really know where to go from here, and much more general and open. I have to say, I think all of the students, bar one, said, I'm quite happy just to have a very kind of open conversation. The way that seemed to start most naturally was like, well, just talk me through how you arrived at the University of Glasgow. Talk me through about your first days. Why did you choose us? And so really just about arriving into Level 1. What did come up through those really kind of informal chats were any challenges that were faced and how they had overcome these, any particularly positive experience they recall both in their academic and extracurricular activities. So, for example, working with others may be a theme that the student returns to throughout our conversation. So it might be about, being labs in Level 1 and meeting new people, and perhaps if they were a home student staying at home, then they didn't have that experience of being in halls with everyone. So we might want to talk about this a little bit more to identify what was challenging exactly. But the important part wasn't focusing on the challenge, but actually how the student has developed skills beyond that. So if it was around maybe group work or meeting other people, it would be, well, actually, yes, okay, you found that difficult at a time, but you're now actually going on and developing skills around collaboration, about working with others, about communicating with others, about communicating effectively, and also leadership from this. So these were the kind of things that we would discuss and draw out, and hopefully Hannah will back this up, it would be the case that the student actually left that conversation going, oh my goodness, I had just stopped at thinking about the challenge rather than moving on and actually reflecting on what I gained from that. So it is about gaining some perspective, taking a step back, reflecting on it, and disengaging just from something that was challenging or something that was particularly, I really feel that I've enjoyed and I'm good at this. Okay, how do you articulate that to an employer that it's not just I'm good at writing an essay? How can you actually change that to, well, I'm really good at structuring my time, planning my writing. I'm good at the APA format, the format that's required, to those skills that are actually required. So it really was apparent that for the students, their thinking did change during the session. We did have a few light bulb moments, and it really did. It was a very positive experience for me because it was allowing students and enabling students to actually take that step forward beyond just I'm in with my degree and I'm completing these assessments with the aim of getting, a degree of 2-1 versus whatever it was at the end of it. And it was actually enabling them to move beyond that. So we did have a few light bulb moments, but also about changing their view of the rationale behind activity. So, I just thought we had to do that. Actually working in groups, again, just sticking with the same example, actually enabled me to think beyond that. And I now realise that not only have I got that skill, but I can also talk about that in terms of I have that skill. This is how I've demonstrated it. This is how I, perhaps met a challenge here. This is how I overcame it, or this is how I work in groups because it's worked really well for me and I've developed organisational skills, planning skills, and being able to articulate these into a clear and relevant way. So the positive outcomes were not just from what I was seeing with the students in front of me, but certainly identifying aspects of the students' practice, specifically as skills, was a positive outcome. So one student said, I was pleasantly surprised by how beneficial I found the skills surgery, really helpful to talk through those things that maybe don't even think of as being skills and realise how useful they are for overcoming current and future challenges. But also the relaxed nature of the sessions, because I was worried that students would want some more structure and clear gains. But actually, I think having that relaxed nature and it's just about having a chat with another human being was another positive aspect. So this student says, I like the relaxed setting. The session made me feel better about myself afterwards. And after any conversation, it's always a good thing if somebody feels better about themselves. However, of course, with anything that we do, things to think about. One of the things that I know people will have on their mind is about time. We are all time poor. However, just blocking that time out every week in your diary and keeping to 30 minutes and being quite strict about managing those expectations of saying, okay, we've now had our 30 minutes. That's now 10:30. So is there anything you want to kind of finish up on? And reiterating, but of course, just because you've been once doesn't mean you can't come again. So if you've found it's helpful and you think it would be helpful again, please come back to me and we will book another 30-minute slot. So having that time block booked into my diary anyway helped. If it wasn't being used, then obviously that gave me time to use for something else, but that was quite helpful. And students were actually very positive about keeping to the 30 minutes. I would also just add to that, I would be quite clear that this isn't a pastoral session, that if they wanted pastoral support or we felt it was drifting into that, then we would organise another time or we would work around that where it maybe did need a bit of a longer chat. Another thing I would be emphasising very clearly is about confidentiality. You're talking about somebody's personal experience here. So yes, we did write words or make little kind of mind maps or whichever way, or just list some things up on the whiteboard, which is just on the wall in my office within the school on Head Street. But just make sure you clear that down after the photograph was taken. And I offered the students to say, well, do you want to take a wee photograph? Because it might be if that you're going away and you're finding, it sounds as if you find this a wee bit of a challenge or you lack confidence with this a little bit. You've got these notes now that you can look back and go, oh yeah, that's right. I remember actually, I can think about this another way. So it's not just about disappearing into the ether, it's about going back and looking at it. Of course, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Challenge and means of connecting with those students and potentially those students that need us the most and perhaps need a little bit more support. And I'm always up for having conversations with colleagues about how we encourage all our students to take up these opportunities and use them for the best way that it would benefit them. So now the student perspective. Hopefully I haven't spoken for too long, so I'm going to stop sharing my slides and hopefully everybody's still there. Oh.
I think so. I'll
Hannah, can you still see those slides?
No, I think the slides are away now.
All right, okay, I can't see you now, but please, yeah.
Okay.
Talk us through your perspective.
Okay, so as Heather mentioned, it was that kind of casual setup that I really liked, because it felt like you're more like having just a chat, but you're also gaining a good insight at the same time. I also found it very helpful in terms of kind of looking back. I think as you're, going through uni, you're just kind of doing the work and not really thinking about it. And I think it was quite helpful to think about, oh, well, this time last year, that actually the prospect of doing this report or doing this was quite stressful and quite scary to me. And now look, I've actually done it and I've conquered it. But you don't really take the time to actually think about that. I also found I participated in one at the end of October last year. And I think that was really good timing for me because it was just before the Christmas deadlines and sort of really into the dissertation process. And so I left feeling very motivated, and I just thought it was a really good time to be doing it at. And also for me personally, I had done another degree at the start of university and then switched. And so I'd always kind of thought that was maybe a negative and something I shouldn't mention. And something that came up in our discussion that Heather had said was actually that you can talk about that in a positive way, and it's something to highlight, which is something I never would have thought about. So again, something really valuable there. And also I've still got the picture, which is useful at the moment because I'm applying for a master's and looking at all these things for next year. And it's good to have that picture there and know that as I'm writing out my applications, I've got some kind of buzzwords and phrases to put in. So yeah, I thought it was really worthwhile and I really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much, Hannah. I appreciate it. Can I just say no money exchanged hands to get Hannah to say all this? I just invited her along today, hoping that she was going to tell us positive things about that. So just to finish up some final thoughts, all students who provided feedback indicated they would recommend the sessions to a friend. And I think that we know, the previous speakers were talking about, sort of real life conversations, demanding. And if you make a recommendation, that's always a really positive thing. The sessions enabled them to consider things in a way that helped with the next step. And I think Hannah's just said that I'm really pleased, Hannah, you've still got that photograph and you're using it for master's applications. That's brilliant. And also that students felt more comfortable considering their skills and knowledge, suggesting they are a short but effective way of identifying graduate attributes. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time. And I am going to try and stop sharing my slides. There you all are. Great. I found it again. Thank you so much.
Excellent. And I am so happy that you invited Hannah along to share like an actual firsthand student perspective. I think the more opportunity to hear from the participants as well is just fantastic. So Hannah, thank you so much for agreeing to do that and sharing that. If people have questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. I'm sure everybody will be more than happy to continue that conversation. And we will move on to our last presentation of this session, which is going to be on active feedback.